Let's continue our deployment topic and talk more about groups, policies, and policy precedents. Static groups are good for initial pilots or testing in advance of production rollouts. You can utilize policy precedents to apply configurations when needed to targeted groups. In the first video, we created a static test group and a dynamic production group. This host is a member of both groups, but can only have one set of group policies applied at any time. As a reminder, dynamic production groups are recommended and often based on functional OU, site, or operating system criteria. Active Directory organizational units provide a means to group sensors into functional groups which already exist within your org. Use multiple criteria to target specific groups of hosts such as all Windows workstations who belong to a certain organizational unit. Most larger organizations use test policies to verify sensor updates and policy changes before applying them to larger production groups. Let's create a sensor update test policy defined to always update to the newer sensor version when it becomes available. We can then assign this policy to a smaller set of hosts in the static test group, allowing them to test the new version first before rollout to the remaining production systems. After selecting the test static group, set the sensor update policy setting to auto, and host assigned this policy will always update to the newest sensor version when it's posted to the CrowdStrike cloud. We now have two sensor update policies defined, one for production systems locked to our last verified build, and the second sensor test policy which will always update to the newest version when available. You may require more granular policies applied to specific groups of hosts such as servers or a dev group requiring detection exclusions or whitelisting for certain applications. Policy precedents let you rank policies from top to bottom in the order they'll be applied. When a host matches an assigned group, the corresponding policy will always be applied first. Let's use our static test group and see how the static test policy gets applied using policy precedents. Our workstation is a member of both the test static group and the Windows production group. Right now, the Windows production policy is applied to the system because the host matches the WinProd dynamic group first and so applies the assigned policy for that group. If we want to apply the WinTest policy, we simply move the test static group up to precedence 1, so hosts matching that group first will assume the corresponding policy. The remaining hosts not matching the test static group will match the Windows production group in precedence 2, and the corresponding production policy will be applied to those hosts. When our testing is complete for the WinTest group, we can either reset our policy precedents back, or in this example, we can disable the test policy in precedence 1 so that those hosts will assume the production policy in precedence 2. You can always verify assigned group policies and apply group policies from the Groups app view. The normal assigned policy for the test static group is WinTest, highlighted in red. However, since that test static policy is currently disabled, hosts will move on to try and match a successive group and policy within the precedence stack. in this case the Windows production group and its related policy. If a host fails to match as any defined group or policy, they will assume the default policy. Default policies are fully configurable, allowing you to define a minimum baseline policy for hosts not matching existing groups. Finally, prevention policy auditing provides all activity related to console users creating or updating prevention policies. Prevention policy debug allows you to verify the policy settings applied on specific host systems. Both are available from the Investigate app Audit dropdown.